Hi, welcome to the Shepherd's Rest Dog Talk. This is episode 48B.
I'm Cam and this is Jilly.
Yes, this is the B'rit Hadashah, or the New Testament discussion of this week's Torah portion. It's found in John 11, 1 through 54, and it's all about the Yeshua raising Lazarus. Before I start in this story, I want to show you something really cool about John. John, as we know, is the more mystical book. And John actually has 7 signs that point to Yeshua being the Messiah. He only talks about 7.
Wow.
While the others talk about lots.
Countless.
Countless, you know. But John only talks about 7. And we're going to talk about those 7. And I saw a really neat pattern here. Okay. So, sign number 1 was the water into wine. And that was found in John 2, 1 through 11. Sign number 2 was the healing of the nobleman's son. That was found in John 4, 43 through 54. The third sign is the healing of the crippled man at Bethsaida, the one who was sitting by the pool and couldn't get up and had no one to put him in the water. The fourth sign was feeding the multitude. The fifth sign, we see him healing the blind man, putting the clay on his eyes and having him wash it out. Yeah. And the sixth sign was raising Lazarus, which is what we're gonna talk about this week. And the seventh sign is when Yeshua resurrected. So I started looking at the pattern and thought, 7 signs. Okay, so let's take those like Cam did on her millennial state per millennium. They fit. They really fit a really neat pattern that I saw here. And it gives us as believers today a clue as to kind of where we're at. So on day 1, you have the water into wine. So that's creation. We see during creation that he took the judgment waters that covered the entire earth and created this beautiful earth that we have, that we see now, right? I mean, kind of water into wine. It was abundance. That's another thing that it points to is in the Messianic era, we're going to have the abundance.
Yeah. And water into life. I know it's wine, but life.
Yes.
Since the blood is in the life is in the blood,
right?
So then that would
yeah. So it fits. It fits really well. So day 2, we have the destruction of the earth and the bringing forth of the new earth through Noah. And we also see Abraham being called. And that sign was the healing of the nobleman's son.
Now, just for clarification to make sure, when you're talking about day 1, day 2, you're not talking about Genesis 1 days. You're talking about millennium.
On a millennial scale, yes, 1,000 years.
Right.
So day 2, these are the things we would see. Right. So we would see Noah at the beginning, being called out from the water. Right. Then we would see Abraham being called out from the people. Yeah. Because water, like in Revelation, all through Revelation, when you see the sea of waters, that is symbolic of people. Right. Now, the third sign is really interesting. It's the healing of the crippled man at Bethsaida, right? Now, if you've been following our doc talks, that was one of my favorite ones, big epiphany of restoring the walk, right? So what do we see on day 3, that millennial period? We see Israel was by the waters, in bondage, just like this man was in bondage to his disease or whatever he, crippled. Israel was in bondage to Egypt. Right. The Lord delivered them, restored them, gave them the Torah, which restored their walk. Right. The same exact thing. Yeah. Restoring their walk. We also see in that 3rd day, they went into the land where they could fully fulfill their walk. Right. And we also see David setting up the kingdom of David. Yeah. David was during that time. So, moving on to day 4, the 4th sign was feeding the multitude. Day 4 is when Yeshua came. Yeah. Hello, that's exactly what he did. Right. He came to feed the multitude because it wasn't just about Israel anymore. Right. It was about Israel to Samaria, to the ends of the world.
Calling them all back in.
We also see on day 4, the Holy Spirit was given, so we can continue with our walk. Right. Now, you have the Sinai experience on day 3. Right. The Torah was given. Now you have on day 4, here's the Holy Spirit. Now you can walk it out. Right. Wherever you are. And that's also when the gospel of Yeshua went out. Right. To the ends of the earth. So sign number 5 was healing the blind man. And day 5, that's when Israel was really, they've been walking through blindness.
Yeah.
They have been, and so has the church.
Right.
We've been partly blinded, and they've been partly blinded. So we see those going together as well. Moving into day 6, this is my favorite. You have the resurrection of Lazarus. Now when he raised Lazarus, he raised him mind, body, and spirit, right?
Right.
So now we see in day 6, we have seen a physical resurrection of Israel. They are back in the land. They're doing their thing. They're walking. They're
trying to walk
the way that they're,
moving. Best a one-eyed man can do.
Right, that's right. They are moving back into that direction. Now we see spiritual Israel being resurrected. We are waking up like those 10 virgins waking up going, oh, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? We're about to move into day 7, and day 7 will put us with Messiah's resurrection. So those were the 7 things that I saw. I just thought it was really cool. So now we're just going to talk about day 6, which was basically the raising of Lazarus. Right, the second point I really want us to see here has to do with prophecy. But I'm just gonna start in 11:1, and then when we get to it, I'll stop. And a certain one was sick, Lazarus, from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. So we've already discussed Mary and Martha, the worker and the one at his feet. And then 2, now it was Miriam who anointed the master with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore the sisters sent to him, saying, Master, see, he whom you love is sick. But when Yeshua heard, he said, This sickness is not unto death, but for the esteem of Elohim, which esteem of Elohim means revelation of Elohim, so that the son of Elohim might be esteemed by it. I'm gonna stop here. So, he just said, this sickness isn't unto death.
I'm sorry, hold on. We see the Greek name is
Lazarus.
But the Hebrew name is Eleazar.
Right.
Which we know from the story of Abraham back in Genesis 24 is also, we know it can be the servant, the unnamed servant, which we know hooks to the Holy Spirit.
His name means God helps.
Yes, the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is if we don't change it and we keep it in the Hebrew, we have the Holy Spirit who's being basically dead, but not unto death.
Right. He's being quenched.
Yeah, he's being quenched because isn't that what's been happening? The Holy Spirit has been quenched. He's been held down. Yes. Not full. I mean, he's helped where he could, come up out and bob out and give the help he can, and it's pushed back down.
Right.
And yet now, in this time, we're seeing
the resurrection of both.
Holy Spirit.
Body and spirit. We've seen physical Israel being resurrected and spiritual.
And that's why you have more people doing I should have had a V8. I should have had Torah.
Why haven't we got this before?
Right, because
why haven't we been taught this?
It wasn't time. Right, and we've been quenching. And here we see, right here, the example of in the 6th day, the time that we're in, being able to give him life. That blows my mind.
Well, another pattern you see here is Yeshua tarried for 2 more days. Now, we know from Hosea that, for 2 days he'll be gone. On the third day he will raise us up, right? So he's on his way. Right, to raise him up. But when he gets
heals him on the 2nd day, but then he raises him on the 3rd. So that's exactly what would be happening here.
Right, but when he gets and when he gets there, they say no, he's been dead for 4 days. 4 days, which is from the very beginning.
Exactly.
Adam, from the fall of Adam up until.
Well, no, actually, it would be Abraham.
No, it would be
because this
Adam.
is the 6th day.
Well, it is, but he's doing it on the 4th day.
Oh, got you.
Because he's there. You see what I mean?
Yes,
he's on the 4th day.
Adam.
So from the time Yeshua raises Lazarus, it's showing we are moving into something different. We're moving into something different because now the Messiah is here, and from Adam to
first Adam to second Adam.
Yes,
4 days. Got it.
4 days.
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. I love John. John is just so
I
level
John.
Those deeper epiphanies. Okay, so back to the the second point. No, that's okay. That was a great sidebar. Back to the second point of the prophecy that he gives here, that he's not unto death. Later on, we see, okay, he's fallen asleep. We need to go wake him up. and they're like, why do we need to go to Judea? Now remember, they're hiding out in Perea because the elders, everyone in charge, basically,
there's a bounty
Jerusalem,
on them.
There is a bounty on Yeshua's head. Right. And the disciples know it. So Yeshua's like, listen, there's 12 days to work. There's 12 days to sleep. We're still in the daytime, basically.
And there's 12 tribes?
Yeah, well, yes. And that's how they divide their days, 12 and 12. So no matter what time of the year it is, it's 12 and 12. That's right. So the 12 days of light, he's letting them know we're still in it, but darkness is coming. Right. So this is his second to the last sign that's going to be performed, which is raising Lazarus. And there's just so much, as you have seen, so
and that's
much
just like we scratch.
Yes, just scratch the surface. But
get the shovel. Get the shovel.
Yeah.
Get the shovel.
But he finally has to tell his disciples, no, he's dead. Now, the disciples are like, what? But you said it wasn't unto death. Right. Okay, this is the point I want to make. This is why we get in trouble with prophecy. Because we read it and we assume we understand it. And then when it comes around the correct way, we don't recognize it. That's why Yeshua wasn't recognized the first time. That's why we need to be careful with the prophetic word and trying to figure out how all of the end time stuff is going to work. Right. Because he was saying something much deeper even than the at that time what he was saying, meaning he's going to raise him from the dead.
It didn't mean he wasn't going to die. It just meant the end result wasn't going to be death.
That's right. Right. Gotcha. It's Jewish thought. Up to 3 days that a resurrection or a coming back to life could take place. Now, remember, they didn't have all of the things technology we have now to say, no, really, that person's dead. But so up to 3 days, they would wait by the tombs. They would, and on the fourth day, it was when the stone was rolled in and it was done.
Well, so, it was smelly too.
Yes, and it was smelly, absolutely. So this was the fourth day. So there was no more hope. So can you see why Yeshua waited? Had he come before, it would have been like, well, that's our tradition.
There would always
a lot of people wake up.
There would always been people going, well, he didn't really do that.
He didn't really.
There was no doubt now.
Right. So not only for all the symbolism that's so cool, but also so there would be no doubt that God did this. Right. And when he comes out, you see he still has his grave clothes on. Right. And Yeshua doesn't take them off. He says, you guys take them off. You know, I think this is really just a foreshadowing of this isn't permanent. This isn't a resurrection like Yeshua
like he
received.
Right.
Because a resurrection.
The first fruits.
It was a resurrection of showing God's absolute power, giving us a timeline now. That's how I see it. I'm like, the Lord is really showing us where we are on the prophetic timeline.
He does. Right.
Yes. And also to show that he is going to die again. And he does die again.
Yeah,
and
he does.
In the late 1900s, they find a tomb along a roadside close to Bethany that had a box in it, and it said Lazarus and Martha on it. So that was probably him. But church tradition says he was so sought after and so famed that he had to, for whatever reason, some hated him, some loved him, he had to leave the Holy Land. But, you know, he did. We do see later on in John 12, I believe it is, where the Yehudim are seeking to kill him.
Right.
Because
they want to take that testimony away.
That testimony is causing so many to believe in Yeshua. You know,
and you know what a foreshadowing, because they're like, oh, well, if he raised him, why can't he raise himself if he's Messiah?
Right. And we'll think about today too. You know, Lazarus being risen is such a, you know, and now think about even the Jews now, the scribes and the rabbis in Israel are saying, look, the Messiah has to be near because one of the signs of the Gentiles are going to take a hold of Torah. Right. And what do we see happening now? Gentiles taking hold of Torah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even they're seeing it. So, of course, it testifies to Yeshua. You know, because more and more of them are seeing it. Wait a minute.
We're starting to have the two eyes coming into focus.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. Skipping down to 49 real quick. After all this talk, it says, and one of them, Caiaphas, being the high priest that year, said to them, you know not, neither do you consider that it is better for us that one man die for the people than the entire nation should perish. This is prophetic of what Yeshua is going to do. So, this tells me that the Holy Spirit will use anybody, even a wicked high priest, to give a prophecy. So don't discount. Don't ever throw the baby out with the bathwater just because you don't fully agree with somebody.
That's right.
He will use anyone. It doesn't mean follow them. It just means don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Let the Holy Spirit show you where it's truth and where it's not.
And then we see, skipping down to 52, John says, and not for the nation only, but to gather together into one the children of God who were scattered abroad. That's the northern kingdom. So even John right here is saying that Yeshua had to die for the nation and for the northern kingdom. It's what we've been saying all year.
2 sticks.
All year, yes.
Right.
Two sticks coming together. Then to get away from the elders, he leaves and goes into a city called Ephraim. Ephraim, we know from Cam's Torah portion, it means double blessing. And I just love that timeline because after he raises Lazarus, he spends his time in Ephraim, which is represented, it's in Samaria, representing the northern kingdom.
Right.
Well, where are we at right now? He has resurrected Israel physically, right? They're in the land. He's doing his thing here. Now he's spending time in the northern kingdom, us, the Gentiles, the scattered abroad.
Cultivating the spiritual aspect.
That's right, because pretty soon, hopefully very soon, we are going to be coming together as one.
Oh my gosh, and I just saw this. So he breathes life into the bones, right?
Yes.
You've got to have the body. You've got to have the spirit.
35.
So you take this, where he's working on the northern that's coming in, the spiritual aspect, blowing it into the bones, and those two coming together is what makes the one new man.
Yes. So, now we know where we're at.
Yeah.
He's in Ephraim right now, resurrecting.
Yeah, because look at all the Gentiles, and I say
coming
Gentiles
in, yes.
because whether you are of Jewish heritage of the northern kingdom coming back in, or you're a Gentile taking a hold, either one, we're all coming in through Ephraim and Manasseh, and we know, well, through Ephraim, we know that from, Genesis 47. And we know all the nations come through.
Right. And see, here's another reason why we have to be careful about the prophecies. Because everyone's looking for the 10 lost tribes to come back, right? And we don't realize that that's what he's doing. We are the 10 lost tribes, quote unquote, coming back. But they're looking for a physical. He's already resurrected the physical. Now it's the spiritual.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And we will see you next week with episode 49. We're almost to 50. What?
The golden era.
Yes. All right. We hope you have a fantastic week. Shalom.
Shalom.